In the fragrance world, we use terminology like a chord or a note. For example, what is a note? When you take vanilla and you squeeze the oil out of it, you get what's called a note. It's a single composition of a fragrance. That's a note. For example, if I was to give you an analogy, you have an orchestra. In the orchestra, there are many, many instruments. And on those instruments, and you're listening to any one of them, when you hear the violin, that is the note, similar to a single note. An accord, on the other hand, is you compose multiple fragrances together to get a genre. In the same way, when an orchestra is playing, all the instruments are playing, that composition in that moment is similar to an accord when you create a fragrance. Those terminologies are important because when we read top note, middle note, base note, yes, they are basically the impressions of fragrances you can identify. A top note of citrus, vanilla. These are grapefruit, very identifiable notes. But then the genre of the candle or the fragrance, which accord are you smelling? What's an accord? And the accord becomes, let's say a candle has a very woody oriental accord direction. The notes are vanilla, leather, tobacco. Those are the notes. The accord is the composition. One is simple, one is complex. A note is simple components. It's you take this plus this plus this plus this, that makes an accord. And then you create the direction of the fragrance. You can have citrus top note with woody base notes, but then you have a citrusy top accord and a base accord of woody or oriental. So it's those composition. The difference between a note and an accord is a note is a single essential oil, a single direction. Rose, Bulgarian rose, is a note. Same way in an orchestra, a violin playing or cello or tuba playing is a single note. When you add all of them together, you begin to get a composition. Simple, complex. Note, accord. That is the difference between a note and an accord. Sometimes we use them interchangeably, but the truth is that you have to know that when you're smelling a fragrance, you're easily understanding, hey, I smell the neroli. That's a note. This has a direction of woods and ambers and ashy, accord, because that's a composition. So that's the terminology that we should be aware of so that we can communicate in a way that the listener is understanding. In our world, including myself, I sometimes use it interchangeably. I shouldn't. But you say, what are the notes? We forget. We have to really define the notes and then say, what's the accord of this? What's the direction? This is a woody oriental fragrance with citrus top notes. These are the accords of the fragrance. That's the difference between a notes and accords. So we're going to be launching a new fragrance called Moroccan Azahar. So what are the notes? What are the accords? The notes, the top note is orange blossom and neroli. The middle note is jasmine blossom and rose. The base notes are patchouli and sandalwood. What are the accords? Woody base accords, floral top accords. And that's how you define the difference between notes and accords.